Completely around.
Yeah, we're still rolling?
Will be. So we have been spending the day here together, myself, Philippa and Penelope. We've been talking about lots of different things that come up in the room, things that help people to progress. And one of the things that we thought we would discuss are some of the big questions that come up when we're doing training, some of the really common things that come up. And I think one of the things we were talking about earlier on was the word authenticity.
Yes, indeed.
And how often we'll get a challenge, it's always generally a challenge that we really enjoy, around, am I being authentic? Is this really me? I wouldn't show up like this. Now, you've been doing this work a lot longer than me, so I mean, did you see this start to come in?
Yes.
What
a good question. Absolutely. That started to come in probably, yes, maybe 10 years ago. Started to just sort of trickle in. It became a known word. I imagine there was more from people like Brené Brown and more out there about the word authenticity. And what became interesting, of course, was how the use of those questions, how the word authenticity was becoming a reason to not change.
Yes.
That's authentically me.
Yes.
And I think that at 4D we have a really good perspective on it because we look at something we look at ourselves and communication through all four dimensions.
Yeah.
And authenticity is an interesting one for that.
Yeah, massively so. I mean, one of the things we've been doing in the room for a while now is looking at people's energy and encouraging people to think about their energy at different levels and then playing with that in different situations. And that's quite often the thing that brings up this idea of authenticity. Well, this level of energy isn't me. And sometimes they'll even get feedback from one of their colleagues, that's an unusual energy. And one of the things I love to do with people is get them to think about themselves in different situations, when they're with their children, when they're out with their friends, when they get up in the morning, when they're doing their favourite hobby. And I don't tell them why they're doing it, but very quickly they realise that they've been in all these different energetic states and all of them were them.
Yeah.
And it really creates an interesting discussion then around authenticity.
Yeah.
And can you bring different parts of yourself from different places in your life and still be authentically you, even if that energy, let's say, is not familiar to the people who you're sharing that space with?
It makes me think of a really wonderful phrase that I heard probably about 10 years ago, which was, well, if your authentic self isn't working for you in this particular situation, choose another authentic self.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But exactly that, it's context driven.
Yes.
And this also applies to, as I was talking about, that we're looking at ourselves, our clients and our communication and relationships through four dimensions. And of course, it can often be the emotional dimension that's driving the bus.
Yes.
And we think, well, that's authentic. I am authentically furious.
I'm very angry.
I'm very angry.
Now.
I'm authentically angry.
Yeah.
And that's very different from your intention. And actually a really quick way to think about this is to think about somebody that you really love. And if they'd missed a paragraph in a report, you probably maybe wouldn't feel as furious because the relationship's different, the context is different. Now that's authentic.
Yes.
That is authentically you, to be understanding and to explain and to try to find out maybe what was going on there. So it's understanding that your intention towards the relationship or situation is quite different from your emotional response.
Yes.
And so we would connect being authentic to your intention as more useful sometimes than being authentic to your emotional reaction.
Well, that is one of them, isn't it? Being authentic to your emotional reaction is one. But the other is, I guess what I touched on briefly just then, was being authentic to what I'm usually like in this context.
Yes.
And, very often we're working with people who say, I want to have more executive presence, or I want to be more engaging with my team, I want to have a stronger impact, I want to tell greater stories. And yet, of course, one of the first sort of blockers for them is, well, stepping into a space where I have more executive presence, sort of trying something here, or stepping into a space where my energy is more inspiring, doesn't feel like me. And you are sort of slightly left thinking, well, you have to make it will not always feel super comfortable to do this. You've got to start edging into these areas that are not as familiar to you. and that will help you to get to where you want to get to achieve what you want.
Absolutely. So there's a real difference between unfamiliar and inauthentic.
Yes.
They're not the same thing.
Yes.
And if you catch yourself saying, that's just not me, you have just identified a really interesting area to look at and to play with something new.
And also because the you that you believe is authentic is simply the you that has been conditioned over many years by our parents and our schooling and our society.
Yeah.
Your authentic self at 4 years old was very different to your authentic self now. We've made choices, and we can make other choices now to change how we show up to have a particular impact.
Exactly. We can be at choice around what it is for us to be authentic in that moment.
And my favourite quote on this is Walt Whitman.
Yes.
I am large, I contain multitudes. And I think that is right for human beings.
I love that.
I think we have an enormous range.
I love that. You are large, you contain multitudes. So have a think about what you mean by authenticity and whether or not there are more choices that you can make in that moment that are breaking you out of pattern and putting you right back at being intentional and being a 4D authentic human being. 4D human being, developing the communication skills, leadership and well-being of your people.